Hello, my name is Kat Hope and I'm the Artistic Director of the Decibel New Music Ensemble, and I'm here virtually with Aaron Wyatt, who is the programmer of the Decibel ScorePlayer and the supporting software, and also musician in Decibel. The aim of this tutorial is to talk you through the Decibel ScorePlayer, which is an iPad application enabling networked synchronized scrolling of proportional color music scores that also embeds audio playback for use on multiple tablet computers. And what we're going to do is to show you some of the basic functions of the ScorePlayer. There is an accompanying tutorial which shows you how to make scores to put in here and how to send them to the ScorePlayer via AirDrop. At the moment, the ScorePlayer is only available on the iPad and the Score Creator on Mac OS, although I believe Aaron's working on that. So when you open the Decibel ScorePlayer, you'll see a list. And if you've just bought it and installed it on your iPad, there'll be about 5 scores there. Here, Aaron has many scores because these are all scores that we play in Decibel. But we're going to be using, you can search for a score this way by scrolling up and down by dragging your finger up and down the screen, or you can type something in the bar at the top. And the one piece that we're going to use as a demonstration in this video is a piece of mine called Her Pockets Full of Inertia. This ships with the iPad, so it's something you can maybe, if you have an iPad with you while you're watching this, you can follow us through. So this, when you click on the score title, this is what you see. So this isn't the entire score, but it's basically in ready to play mode. And if you drag your finger on the button at the bottom of the screen, you can preview the score from beginning to end. So this is just if you want to have a look at all the material that's there. This is a really good way to do that. If you actually want to play it and synchronize it with all the other iPads together, or just for your own, you just click on the play button and it will proceed at the speed decided by the composer in the score photograph. The score has an audio file embedded in it, and that's what we'll do now. If you want to see parts, you just drag your finger up and down the screen and you'll see the different parts as they've been uploaded into the Score Creator. Not all scores have to have parts, but it's a useful technique if you have a complex score where people need to kind of highlight their part out. If you want to go back to the start of the piece as if nothing's happened, you click the reset button. And when you start playing a score, you can pause it at any time by just re-clicking the pause button. And then you can drag that little button along if you want to preview or move to a different spot. There's also the capacity to change the time. So in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see there's a count up button, which counts to the length of the score. If you want to change the speed of the score, if you reset, if you reset the score, you can change the time.
There we go.
Aaron's ahead of me in the next stage, and you can type a different duration in seconds and that will change it. Although it's worth highlighting that if you make your piece shorter or longer than the audio, the score will travel at a different speed, but the audio will stay the same. A good thing to know about the ScorePlayer is you may want to project the score and get rid of all the controllers. That's also possible. Aaron, how do you do that again?
Yep, if you're on the welcome screen, there's this enable projection mode button at the bottom here.
Yep.
And I'll just go back to Her Pockets. And now you'll notice that there's no way to control the score here. So it's only really useful if you're projecting and you're controlling it from another iPad. So you've got two or more iPads networked together, and one of them is just sitting there dedicated to projection.
That's right. You still need the controllers to control the score. So
yep.
Yeah, like you said, yeah. So
and you can,
so
you can also hide this top bar as well. If you just click on this top bar, you can hide the navigation bar. And if you do that, there'll be nothing on the screen. But the only way to get back out of that is to leave the program and go back into it.
I see. And so you'll see at the bottom there, as well as the projection mode, there's also a user guide, which just gives you some of the instructions that we're talking you through here. And you can use the manage files at the top right hand corner to get rid of any scores that you might not want anymore. This is useful if you're testing scores and you've got multiple versions of things and you need to get rid of them. What else have we got here, Aaron? I think that's just about it on this score. So let's go back into her pockets full of inertia and introduce the annotation feature. So if you look at the top right hand corner, there's two things. One is an instructions button. If you press on that, an instructions file will appear. That's something that if you've made the score yourself, you will have added at the score creator stage. That's really useful for performers who need to check in with what things mean on the score. And the annotation layer, the annotation function is another thing for performers where if they want to make a note on the score, they just use their finger to draw. And that stays on their score until that score is removed from the score player. So that can be, if you have 5 performers, each one can make their own annotations on their score. Aaron, would you like to talk us through the networking? So this is the way that you get multiple iPads to all play the same thing. And this is really designed for performers, ensemble directors who want to make sure that it's happening. So you, Aaron, do you want to talk us through it?
Yeah, so on the networking screen, you'll see any additional iPads that are on the same network that are running the same score. So in this case, my computer that's sitting here has sort of a development version of the ScorePlayer on it, and I can connect to that by just tapping there. And so then we're connected. And any movement that I make, actually, well, I mean, you can't see me moving the iPad anyway. I was about to say, I'll show you, I can move from the computer, but it's not gonna make any difference here. So any movements that happen from either device will happen on the other device. And so I'm moving it on my computer, and it's changing where it's at on the iPad. The one thing though is if I go into annotate mode and I start moving it around on the computer, nothing will happen on the iPad until I finish annotating. So once I hit done, it jumps to where the other iPad is, and as you've seen, me has pressed play on the computer, and so it catches up to where it was.
Yeah, and a quick note that it only works on an iPad. Aaron's running a simulator on his computer.
Oh yeah.
Just in case anyone tries to install it on the computer.
Please don't install on computer. It won't work.
So the iPad assumes you're all on the same network. And so just a basic, for those of you who may not be familiar with the network settings, you need to go into the general, which is that grey wheel, go up to Wi-Fi and choose the network you want to join. All the iPads need to be on the same one. You don't have to join. In fact, it's better actually not to join an existing internet. There's sometimes firewall issues. What you can do is create a network using another laptop or a portable Wi-Fi and give it its own name and get everyone to join that. Often it comes up with a warning saying you are not connected to the internet. That doesn't matter. And that gives you just a bit more control over the network, right, Aaron? Because I think any problems have usually come.
Ideally, the best way is to have your own dedicated access point.
Yeah.
So you can create a network from laptops, sort of an ad hoc network. It's not the best way to go. If you have a dedicated router that you can use, that's yours. That's probably the easiest and best way to ensure that everything's going to connect nicely across the network.
Yeah, so that's in some ways, if you're running a performance of a piece on the ScorePlayer, that's the first thing you have to do is make sure everybody is on the same network, and then open the network tab, open their score, open the network tab, and click join the server. So the first iPad on there will be the what will be called the server, and then there'll be a backup server, but everyone will join that same one. And if you want to check that everybody's on there, you'll see a list. There you go. You'll see a list developing on there. You can also perform, this is in a local area, so everybody in the same room together. You can also use the iPads across the internet, and that requires, that's a manual connection, which you can see is grayed out down the bottom there.
Yeah, if I just disconnect, then I'll have that option.
Aaron, would you like to talk us through this one?
And you'll need to so you'll need to manually enter the address of a machine somewhere else on the internet. So obviously both iPads will once again need to be running the same score. Obviously they won't be able to automatically discover each other because they're not on the same local area network. But if you have the address, I can just manually type the address of my computer just to show you what it would normally be like. And you'll notice that's, once again, it's connected back up to my computer that's running the simulator. But obviously you could enter any internet address here and connect it to anyone across the internet. If you're behind, the only issue that you will need to think of is that if you're behind a router, you'll need to set up some port forwarding. So you'll need to know someone, or you'll need to know a bit about networking, or know someone who can help you out with that.
So that's if you are in different countries and you all want to play the same score. You know, it's probably worth getting in touch with Aaron if that's a project that you'd like to take. And with the audio playback, you might want to consider, you know, the audio will come through your iPad speakers. So in a performance scenario, you may want to send out the audio via the mini jack to a PA. But we've had composers do really interesting things with the audio in individuals' iPads and having them at different volumes. But generally, if you have one stereo playback file, you would ask all your performers to turn the volume down on their iPads and just send it out from one. Which again, if you have a projection iPad, that might be that one. It could be like your, you know, your kind of non-performing iPad, if you like. I think we've covered everything about what the ScorePlayer does. Aaron, unless there's something to talk about?
No, I think that's mostly it. I guess the only other thing is that when you're playing or paused, you can sort of hide or show the bottom bar by tapping on the clock in the bottom right corner. And you can also hide the playhead by just tapping on it. And tapping anywhere on the screen will re-show it. So I guess if you wanted to project and you didn't want people to see exactly, you know, where you were in the score at any given time, but you still want them to be able to see the score, you can just simply hide the playhead, and then they can still see the score but won't know exactly where the performers are.
Great. Okay, so I hope you found this tutorial interesting. If you've got more advanced queries around networking and also the OSC capacity, so to send messages from the iPad and vice versa, I suggest you get in touch with the wonderful Aaron here. But for any other information about the ScorePlayer, including a link to download it and the score creator, you can go to the decibelmusic.com webpage, which has a dedicated ScorePlayer page. And there's also some academic papers on that page which explain a little bit about the genesis of the ScorePlayer and its use in different different exemplars. But download the ScorePlayer from the Apple App Store and you'll see a couple of scores in there that you can experiment with and investigate. The other score type that you can make in the score creator, of course, is the talking board, which we haven't really looked at here. This is a different methodology for reading. This is one of the original talking board scores. So the difference between this and a scrolling score is really how the image is read. You choose the number of planchettes, which are these circles. We can have up to 6 and as low as 1. And when you press play, in this case, the pieces, the planchettes roam the image and the image itself moves around. These things happen randomly. You can't control them as the composer or the performer, but everyone will see the same image. So you choose a color and you follow that. But the length of the score, so the length that this occurs, is set by the composer in the Score Creator app. And when you click reset, you can see that there's some different behaviors there. Yeah, there's no instructions file on the talking board because generally the playing approach is always the same, but the networking applies the same here as it does on other scores. I hope you enjoyed the webinar, the tutorial, and get in touch with us at Decibel if you've got any questions about how the Decibel ScorePlayer works or how you might use take your image into a score on the ScorePlayer.